Hello, fellow dungeon crawlers. We have another iconic module to discuss, but this is a very unique module because it's less of a dungeon crawl and more of an urban mystery, but it still has some tough combat though. When the party arrives in Specularum, the ruling families are all in a power struggle, vying for the attention of the city's rulers. But the city is on fire. There are gangs of mass assassins stirring up trouble. This environment provides plenty of opportunity to roleplay with the various factions. Should the party work with one of the factions because they're all kind of shady, or should they do it alone? Either way, it's going to be a fun adventure. If you'd like to discuss B6, the Veiled Society, then please step inside my dungeon. The Veiled Society was written by David Zeb Cook. He wrote many other bangers like Masters of the Desert Nomads, Temple of Death, and co-creator of the Isle of Dread. If you'd like to see any of these other previous discussions, links are in the description. This adventure is for character levels 1 to 3. It's probably going to be the party's first adventure after maybe an introductory one. In fact, this was the first module I ran or attempted to run a long time ago. The module is well organized and has nice box text and is only 16 pages long. What? 16 pages? That's half the pages of a standard OG module. Old school modules pack a lot of information in a short page count, but what the actual F? The middle of the module has 16 pages that are devoted to fold-out paper maps. Maybe some younger viewers might not understand why half the page count went to paper buildings. Gaming back then, we really didn't have as many cool TTRPG stuff as we do today. We did have some metal minis. I had mostly playing character minis and small monsters. I'm really not sure if there were large monsters available back then because the metal minis were pretty pricey. No cool vinyl battle maps or pre-made dungeon tiles, but we did have graph paper. As far as terrain, I used anything I could find. I did find some trees from a local railroad hobby store, but as far as buildings, I really didn't have any, so I was really excited to use these paper buildings. So unfortunately, yes, I did destroy my original module and I cut out all the paper minis. They were kind of floppy, but I was quite happy to bring those in on any of my adventures. If you played back then, let me know in the comments what you used to spice up your adventure. Let's get into the adventure. There's a spoiler alert now, since it's a little bit hard to talk about this adventure without giving up the plot. The adventure takes place in the city of Specularum. It is the most important city in the area. The city is also the capital of the Grand Duchies of Caramico. The module says that the population is only 5,000 people, which seems like a pretty low population to me. Its streets are described as narrow, crowded, and unsanitary. It does have 500 soldiers always on standby, ready for emergencies. The city is also protected by an elite troop called the Elven Guard, who patrol the northern forests. In the adventure, there are 3 factions based around a family, and they're all competing for power and prestige. The first faction is a Terensku. It is a once powerful, noble family, but their power is now degraded, and to make matters worse, their faction leader has died. They want nothing more than to regain their prior power and prestige. The second faction is the Vorlai. They are considered an upstart merchant faction. They have a fleet of merchant ships and want to gain trading concessions from the Duke. To gain these concessions, they basically need to be the adults. They want to maintain the peace in the city and prevent any open warfare. The last faction is the Radu. They are a gang of troublemakers which are led by a cunning 63-year-old man. They are the leaders of the Veiled Society, which is a gang of cutthroats and the villains in the adventure. Okay, let's get into the adventure. When the adventure starts, the city is in the middle of a festival, and the party will soon come across a procession. This procession is supported by the Terensku. Henchmen from the Radu block the procession. Blocking the procession and causing trouble, the Radu believe it will lower the prestige of the Terensku. If players don't act, it will turn violent. This gives players an opportunity to get in better with the different factions. The next morning, players are at their inn when an old lady rushes in screaming. She obviously needs help. The party should help them. If not, the innkeeper says, I'll throw you into the streets, you heartless dogs, and spread your names as debtors to all the inns in the city. Don't think my guild can't make you miserable. This is a pretty solid example of railroading. It's crazy how the innkeeper will misrepresent the truth to his guild, but it does get the party to the next encounter quickly. The woman leads the party to a nearby house and points them to her root cellar. The root cellar now is tunneled out in both sides and becomes a small dungeon crawl. The monsters in this dungeon are pretty basic. There are zombies, kobolds, and some hobgoblins. The main encounter happens when the players see two hooded men quickly digging a hole with a bloody sack nearby. If the men digging the hole are disturbed, they will try to run. Inside the sack is a corpse. The body is a member of the Vorlai family. On examination, the party will uncover red hair under the victim's fingernails. So the murderer might be a ginger. If the party chooses to report the incident, they will need to submit to a clerical tribunal. If they agree to the tribunal, the book says they will be able to prove their innocence easily. If not, the book says they are considered guilty and will be hung in 1 week. If the party agrees to the tribunal, they will be taken to the scene of the crime, which is the Vorlai house. I remember when I first ran this as a kid, I was nervous that the party wouldn't submit to the tribunal because I really didn't want to hang them. Let me know in the comments if you have any examples on how to deal with a resistant party. Hopefully, the party isn't hung and they make their way to the house to do the CSI thing. When they get to the house, it is in shambles. They notice that the furniture is broken, there's bloodstains on the floor, and there's even more red hair. The bloodstains spell out ROA. After investigating the house, the party notices a growing discontent with the Trenscu family. The crowd goes into a mob, and the people are blaming the nobles for the ills of the city. The book states, and I tell you the Trenscus are dangerous. Do they care for you? Who declares the taxes? Who steals food from your children's mouths to fatten themselves in luxury? Ringing the outer edges of the market are 30 of the Duke's horsemen. The orator and the crowd grows silent. 3 riders slowly bring their mounts to the center of the crowd. Suddenly, a hoarse cry erupts from the crowd and something flashes through the air. The lead rider falls, struck by a rock. Okay, this sets off the riot, which is my favorite part of the adventure. The riders slowly come in and draw their swords. The rioters pick up rocks or whatever is on hand. What's the party going to do? Should they help the rioters or should they just try to escape? I like this section because it gives you different options to run a fast-moving, chaotic riot. First, the party could stay and help fight off the horsemen, but that's probably not a great idea. After the horsemen are dealt with, the party will be considered the leaders of the revolt. This is because they are the only trained fighters. Eventually, 60 well-armed soldiers will appear to put down the revolt. The party only has 100 poorly trained and equipped commoners, so this will be a tough fight. It would probably be best for the party to ditch the mob and make their escape. This is because the Duke will commit up to 400 soldiers to put down the revolt, which will ultimately be an insta-death for the party. When the party escapes, the players can notice the orator who is amping up the crowd is also trying to escape the riot. If captured and interrogated, the party can discover he is part of the Veiled Society. He was assigned to stir up the crowd and cause trouble. They encounter a secret Veiled Society meeting area, which is in the Blue Water Mead Hall. This is the end area of the game. After the riot, the party gets back to their inn and they will receive messages. If they are working with the Trenscu, they will be asked to escort a man from the docks to a senator's residence. What's crazy though is, if the party is working for the Radu, they will be asked to ambush the same group of people heading to the senator's house. So it is possible to have 2 groups of people on both sides, the attacking and the defending force. The module says, play this part of the encounter in 2 separate groups. One group of characters acting as bodyguards and the other group as Veiled Society men. Each group should not be allowed to hear what is said to the other, or to know what the members are doing. Wow, that's way too complicated. When I ran it, I had the party work on just one side, and I believe that was the bodyguards. Let me know in the comments if you ran this encounter and how did it go. Did anyone have the party work on both sides? That really sounds cool if you could pull it off. The final encounter of the game is at the Blue Water Mead Hall, which is the headquarters of the Veiled Society. There were many clues to this location, but if the players didn't find this location yet, they could always follow a Veiled Society member after the ambush. At the Blue Water Mead Hall, the party will discover the murderous Ginger. If captured, the Ginger will admit his guilt. The party can discover one of the Duke's elite Elven Guard locked in a cell. He knows the secret of the Veiled Society, and if returned to the Duke, he will be able to destroy the power of the Radu once and for all. But it will not be easy. There are pretty powerful enemies, especially for a first-level group. A large amount of Veiled Society members are in the Mead Hall. They are even backed up by giant thugs. To make matters worse, they are led by a 6th-level fighter with a +2 sword, so stealth will be of utmost importance. Like I said earlier, this was the first module I attempted to run, and I used all the paper minis and the buildings, and that really went well. I think they were easy to travel with. I did run this for an older group of college-aged people, and they probably went easy on me, but I think overall we had fun, and that's what's important when you play these games. So let me know in the comments if you played this adventure and what you thought of it. Thanks everyone for sticking with me all the way through. If you made it this far, how about giving me a like, because it would tell the YouTube overlords you liked what you saw. Also, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you'll be notified when the next adventure is ready. And this is also the best way to help our channel grow. And I'll see everybody on the next dungeon crawl.